Hey there, you're about to watch another wonderful episode of Wild Harvest. Now, of course, I will show you some tricks and some tips for local foraging and the gathering of wild edibles, but the reality is, and the truth is, you must do your own homework. There is no replacement for learning and gaining the experience and knowledge that will give you 100% accuracy on touching and picking and eating the wild edibles. And the only way to do that is to turn to the books, turn to the material online, and most importantly, find a good, experienced, and knowledgeable local forager and take a course with them. Then you'll be confident in your own wild harvest. All right, let's go enjoy some gathering. You know, as Paul and I continue to gather from the wild, I find that we're returning to the same areas. Whether it's up in Calgary, where he's from, or over in Ontario, Canada, where I'm from, or down here in Southern Oregon. The reality is there are not 4 seasons for gathering. There are as many seasons as there are weeks in the year. What's ripe in the middle of June might be woody 2 weeks later, but something else is ready. As you get to know your local forest, you'll even become familiar with individual plants, patches of plants, individual trees, and by being there and harvesting them, you actually help to ensure their survival. See, getting to know your local forest, that's the essence of the wild harvest. All right, tell me what you see.
I see what I think is cattails.
Every single day of the year, there is something you can harvest from the cattail plant. You've already been introduced to it for flour. You've been introduced to it for just eating the stalks. What we want to get today, and this is midwinter, is the rhizome. Underneath this water and in the ground, the rhizome lays horizontally. And out from that will be next year's growth. We're taking the rhizome right out of the water. It's gone, it will not grow there again. What I like to do for reciprocity is every time I see those seed heads, I break them up and I try to keep spreading them around, or I'll take them home and put them in the ponds around my place. This is a process of harvesting that absolutely will kill the plant. So that's why you want to gather where there's thousands of them. Holy, that's cold water. Let's see what I can do here. I'll tell you what we'll do, Paul. If this particular location is just too deep and it's hard to get to them, there's so much cattail around here, we'll just find another spot that's easier to get to. This is kind of fun, but there's no need to suffer if you're just doing a local foraging.
Got one! Just need 19 more!
There's a couple here, Paul. But I know another spot. Shallower, softer mud. I got one, but let's go get a bunch more. Follow that rhizome along horizontally. There we go. And that's what we're going after. Spread a few seeds. You will find your favorite locations, places where it's easy to pick stuff. We don't need to work at this. We're just gonna have fun at it. And when it starts to become work, we're just likely not to do it, you know? So I look for places where it's just fun to go picking, you know? Let's remember the essence of what you and I are all about here. This is me bringing you into the forest to introduce you to the plants so that when you play with them in the kitchen, you've got this whole experience. And I just realized, why are my hands muddy and yours are not? I'm good to go. Time for you to get to know the cattail plant. Come on over here and start gathering some rhizomes of your own.
I can definitely feel what Buzz is talking about with the rhizome. I've got a good one here, I think. That I do.
Let me get you to the other side of the river. There's a bridge just down a ways. All right, here we go. Take a look at this. Isn't that beautiful? You know what that is?
No idea.
So this is actually a member of the wild ginger family.
No kidding.
All right, and it's, I believe the proper name is Hartig wild ginger. We take a little piece here. Should smell like ginger.
In a big way.
Yeah. Isn't that something? There's not a lot of it, so I don't want to harvest from this patch. If there was tons of it, we'd go for it. I just want to leave this. Let's see what else we can find. There is another plant I'm going to go harvest. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I want you to go back, and this is your chance now as a chef to communicate with this forest, get to know it so that you can do what you do best and bring it back into the kitchen.
This forest is abundant with evidence of a fire that went through. It's showing that there was a struggle. And if I can create that sort of drama, that sort of struggle with my food, then I've captured this time and place.
I pulled a fast one on Paul. This is actually a beautiful patch of wild ginger. It's a different variety from some of the wild gingers that are around here. This one happens to be abundant, and that's why I want to go for it, because it's prolific and abundant in this area. So this is going to be a good one. This is the kind of area for wild ginger, kind of dark and shady and wet. Just search the creeks, and that's where you'll find wild ginger. This is beautiful. When you gather wild edibles, once you get into digging and pulling and cutting and picking, the aromas just wash up into your face. Now that is both awesome and dangerous. I'll tell you why it's dangerous. This has a strong aroma to it. That smell is transferred now to my fingertips. Now, I'm looking for another plant. Oh, and I see something that looks like the plant that I think I want, and I'm trying to smell that plant. The ginger's going to override that. So you actually need to wash your hands in between so that you don't mix up smells and aromas as you're gathering. But in this case, I'm only after the ginger. Oh, Paul's going to love this. I'm sure this looks a little bit undoable for some people, depending on the kind of physical shape they might be in. I don't have to run up this hill. I can take it nice and slow. Keep my dog with me. And just sometimes it's a great opportunity to just kind of stretch a few things out so that gathering wild edibles is actually part of keeping you healthy and strong. All right, well, gathering from a location like this, I don't usually recommend. It's a little bit precarious, a little bit treacherous even. But when you do go out to forage locally and gather from the wild harvest, you want to make sure that you're going to a place that you're safe and you're comfortable. And you know your own limits, so you stick to them. Here, I'm not that good with heights. That's one of my weak points. And this is a bit of a scary spot for me because there's a cliff just below me by a few feet. However, getting to here wasn't that bad. I'm rock solid, I won't fall, and look what I get. This is my reward. This beautiful patch here, and there's tons of it. So succulent and fresh. Yeah. It's called miner's lettuce. So I've happened upon something that is a mystery. There are some garbage bags here. unfortunate. But I'm looking at them and I'm like, is that miner's lettuce growing out of them to this size? And I'm pretty sure that's miner's lettuce. Well, the bags do not have garbage in them. They have compost in them. And I think what's happened is the miner's lettuce just went, yeah, thank you, party time. And we have this incredible crop of miner's lettuce in a very precarious place on the side of a cliff, thanks to the fact that somebody was throwing away their bags of compost, I think. I can't imagine somebody would do this on purpose to grow. This is just too precarious. On the other hand, this is Oregon. Hey, Paul! You're gonna get a chance to play with this, but have a taste. Just go for it. Succulents.
Refreshing.
Yeah. So we've got our miner's lettuce and we've got our cattail. We are going to process these rhizomes. I'll show you the method. See all that white stuff in there? That's what we want. We're going to be scraping that down. We're going to end up with a slurry, and that slurry is going to be beautiful cattail starch. The last thing I have for you is a surprise. I pulled a bit of a fast one on you. That patch of wild ginger that I showed you was not enough to harvest from, and you know how we like to gather from areas that are abundant. What was abundant, further down by a stream, was another version of wild ginger. Pick that up and smell it. Just go ahead. Isn't that something?
Intense.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get enough of that.
So I'm glad you got the time out there to connect. Now I want you to take some time and just get to know these 3 plants, this local wild harvest that I brought to you. I'm gonna go back up and we'll start making our way back home. I'm excited to see what you discover here. Enjoy.
Cheers. This is amazing to me. I have 3 distinct things going on. I've got this ginger, which I can't stop smelling. It's so fresh, invigorating. And then over here, if I smell it, it smells like the swamp. It's mud, it's dirt. It's gonna be interesting to see what's revealed from inside that mud ball. And then this lettuce is so fresh and crisp and juicy. Already I'm getting some ideas. Fabulous.
So this is our rhizome. Here's the process, real simple. We just wanna do a little split. So this outside part we don't want, okay, the dirty part. We want this stuff, white stuff right there, all right? That's the inside of the rhizome. It is said that this is upwards of 80% starch. So we need to get the starch out of those fibers. You're cooking today. We don't have all that much time. So I want to make this available to you within minutes here, okay? And this is how I will do it, real simple. And how far do you scrape? Well, get down till you're down to the fibers. Yeah, go ahead, have a feel of that. Swish it around and then check your fingers at it.
Very tacky.
Yeah.
Very sticky.
That's our job for today. I have a little pond in my yard. I'm going to take all the cattail ends that we don't need, and I'm going to plant them in the mud there and hope that they grow. So we go out there, we take from the wild. In this case, we're truly taking. And instead of just saying, fine, now we'll throw the refuse in the compost, no, I'm going to go actually plant it in a place where I think it's very wet and it should grow. This is one of those very rewarding moments where I am enabled to enact out reciprocity with the plants that I've been gathering by bringing them here to this little pond that I built myself and replanting them. But not only that, when I gathered the cattail, that disturbance, the cutting, the pulling, actually causes them to shoot out new roots. It's a win-win situation. So I'm going to plant these. Good? Good. All right, grow, cattail, grow. Yeah. Reciprocity. That's the way to connect to nature.
In the green space, I have something very aromatic and robust. And I have something very delicate and tender. The challenge for me is the cattail starch and how to extract it conveniently so I can use it right away in the dishes that I plan on making. Making a ginger syrup is super easy. What it does is it gives me an opportunity to take that ginger flavor and to make an extract out of it. 3 ingredients, water, sugar, and ginger is all I need. I'm separating the leaves from the stalk. I will use the stalk for the first process of making the syrup, and then after I'm going to buzz in the leaves, I'm going to puree them. That should really help maintain the aromatic quality, that fresh flavor that you can only get from tasting the leaf. Some of the lettuce that we harvested yesterday is showing signs of wilting. Now I've got a trick that will fix that. Believe it or not, by putting it in warm water, not cold water, I can bring this back to life. I've got this water approximately 90 degrees. I'm going to leave the lettuce in there for at least half an hour. I'm going to remove it from the water and then put it in the fridge. And it should come out freshly picked, crisp. These leaves are huge. What I'd like to do is use them as a leafy salad component, but these stems, they offer up a great opportunity. I'm thinking of using these like a vegetable. This is my first attempt ever at extracting cattail starch. What I'm expecting to happen is for the starch to release from the fiber and drop into this water bath that I have below. The water on its own actually has started to thicken a little bit. Next up, I plan on heating this just to see what happens when I bring it to a boil. Having the ginger syrup cooking right next to this starch water combination just seems like I have to combine the two. I have to see where this goes. Hopefully, I'm gonna have a nice wild ginger flavored glaze. I think that'd go perfect with some steelhead trout. This was the syrup that I made from the stem of the wild ginger. And all I did was blend in the fresh leaves. That aroma that I was so taken by is right here in this blender. That one worked out well. I'm thinking there might be an opportunity to use the cattail starch if I can make a batter that almost acts like the base for a pancake, a blini, a taco, that sort of concept. I'd like to use it as a delivery system for a salad. This is the cattail starch from the dehydrator. Time to mill it, turn it into a flour. So I've got this idea that I can use this cattail flour all on its own and make almost like a crispy component, a dry crouton type texture. Right now the flavor that's in there is fantastic. I think this is working better than I thought. For this vinaigrette, some neutral flavored oil, in this case sunflower oil, cider vinegar, some of this wonderful wild ginger syrup, and a little bit of salt. I'm always so pleased with my trick of using the warm water to refresh greens. Works like a charm every time. So, you ready for this?
Of course I'm ready. I wouldn't describe this as delicate. There's so much more than iceberg lettuce. There's depth there. I'm trying to put my finger on the flavor. I haven't done that yet. Give me a moment. But what are the croutons made of?
Ingredients: water and cattail starch.
The croutons I'm enjoying. I'm finding them a little bit bulky, but I think mostly because of the size of them. I can't actually put my my thoughts onto the flavor that it's giving me. There's something very subtle there. What do you get out of the flavor of them?
Parsnip.
Hey, yeah.
In a weird way. Like
there you go.
Parsnippy.
That's where I need to rely on you as a chef and your palate. your discerning palate to be able to kind of explain a flavor to me. I couldn't get my brain around what that flavor was.
The ginger, it wasn't forward, and I made a huge conscious effort that lettuce needed to be respected. I couldn't overdress it.
You're right. The aftertaste is where I get the ginger. All right, what's next?
Well done. The story of ginger.
Okay, that was awesome.
For starters, I've got a nice glaze. I've added a little bit of my magic wild ginger syrup, and I'm adding some fresh chopped wild ginger leaves. Initially, when I tried the leaves, it was interesting because they were very, very tough. I couldn't think about using them raw, but I tried them with a little bit of heat. They became tender. One thing I always try to do is use absolutely everything in the kitchen. Some people would consider it waste. I look at this as something that I could cook. In this case, for a vegetable, to go with the steelhead trout that I have baking in the oven. Now, this is the stem from the miner's lettuce. A little chili paste, a little fish sauce. Now, it's time for my wild ginger syrup. All those flavors are going to work in perfect harmony. Time to glaze the fish.
Yowza. Oh, that's good. That's delicate. Yeah, that's in the pocket.
I have a ginger syrup that I made influencing the flavor profile.
It acts differently, a lot differently on the fish here and the vegetables than it did on the salad. And it's the same syrup component?
The exact same recipe.
How did you decide that you wanted to take this wild ginger syrup and include it on each course?
Literally to have a common thread. To have something easy in the pantry, trying to keep that live aroma present in a liquid form.
A live aroma captured in a liquid form. So would that, I mean, that's similar to like smoking a drink. You've got a live aroma and you're capturing it into the liquid, and you've done that with the syrup then. That's what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, that's really good.
Well, my fine chef, what's next?
You know, I had that moment where I was alone and I found my spot. The next course, I'd like to tell you that story. Time for some cattail starch pancakes. This is the story of a struggle, of the struggle of life. The fact that out of something as horrific as a huge forest fire,
Right.
there is something as beautiful as the wild ginger.
Mm-hmm. This kind of attention to detail of presentation has got to be fun.
Here's your dip, the wild ginger syrup. Take that, fold it in half. If you want more ginger syrup, just dip right in.
When you start to partake of wild harvesting, of local foraging, you find yourself in a place of exploration and discovery constantly. We are definitely experiencing, in most cases, the unknown. I mean, a lot of times I even know these plants, but I don't know them like the way you are enabling me to get to know them. And I love this process. In the case of me being able to take plants and actually replant them in my areas, that is expressing reciprocity. And when I can do that, we are actually helping to keep these indigenous species alive and thriving. We're not denuding them, we're not destroying them, we're celebrating them. And that kind of reciprocity is the pure essence of the wild harvest.